LAX welcomes more than 88 million passengers a year. It is the third busiest airport in the United States and the fifth busiest on the planet. Its runways operate at the absolute limit of their capacity. Its terminals have been renovated to the tune of billions of dollars over the last decade. And yet, every single day, a line of cars stretching for miles completely paralyzes access to the airport for hours on end. Not for minutes, for hours. How can one of the largest airports on Earth be at the same time completely unable to handle its own traffic? The answer reveals a paradox that no expansion project can solve on its own, because the problem is not where anyone have been looking for decades. Think of Atlanta, the busiest airport on the planet with over 104 million passengers in 2023. Nearly half of these passengers are just connecting. They land, walk through the terminal, board another flight, and leave. They never get into a car. They never touch the city's road system. For Atlanta's traffic, these 50 million people practically do not exist. Now think of LAX. Only 8% of passengers are connecting. The other 92% are arriving in or departing from Los Angeles, headed to hotels, homes, offices, movie studios, and beaches. These are passengers who arrive and stay. In a metropolis of 13 million people, built without a comprehensive subway system, without high-capacity urban rail, and without a transit network that covers the neighborhoods where people actually live, this reality means one concrete and inevitable thing. Every passenger brings a car. Do the math. 88 million passengers. 92% arriving or departing. A city where 75% of people still use a private vehicle to get to the airport. That is approximately 65 million car trips per year between arrivals and departures. That averages out to 178,000 vehicles per day trying to enter or leave an airport designed more than 60 years ago for a fraction of that volume. This is not an aviation problem. It is a city problem manifesting inside the airport. When experts began to seriously investigate the collapse of LAX's road system, they expected to find the culprit where they usually are, on the runways, in the terminals, or at the boarding gates. The logic was intuitive. If the airport is overloaded, the bottleneck must be inside. It isn't. LAX's runways have a declared capacity of more than 700 operations per day, takeoffs and landings combined. The terminals were modernized with investments exceeding $5.5 billion between 2012 and 2023, and Terminal B is considered one of the most advanced in the United States. By any standard industry metric, the airside infrastructure is world-class. The problem lies just outside the terminal doors, on the land side, the territory between the airport and the rest of the city, the arrival zone of cars, buses, and rideshares. This is where the crisis happens, and the real culprit is not the volume of cars, it is the geometry. LAX was built around a design born in 1961, the horseshoe. Two parallel rings of roadway, one for arrivals on the lower level, another for departures on the upper level, loop around the terminals in an elongated U-shape. When it opened, catering to 8 million passengers a year, the system was a model of efficiency. For 20 million passengers in the subsequent decades, it worked acceptably. For 88 million, it is a dead-end trap. The mechanism of this collapse is simple, making it devastatingly effective. Imagine you are driving someone to the airport. You enter the horseshoe on the south side, near Terminal 1, but their flight is on United, Terminal 7, on the north side. To get there, you need to cross all the traffic lanes while moving along a 3-kilometer loop. As you cut to the left trying to reach Terminal 7, the car next to you cuts to the right because they realize too late that they passed Terminal 4. The car in front brakes without warning because the driver missed the exit sign. There are no traffic violations, no accidents, just a design doing exactly what it was engineered to do. This is not traffic congestion in the conventional sense. It is constant, involuntary lateral movement. Every vehicle has a different destination within the same corridor. Everyone is competing for the same curb space at the same time. When one car stops to drop off a passenger, the entire flow around it grinds to a halt because there is no room to go around. The horseshoe turns every vehicle into a structural obstacle for all the others, not due to anyone's negligence, by design. The obvious solution, the one any public official would try first, is to widen the roads. More lanes, more capacity, more flow. The logic seems foolproof. Where there is congestion, add space. It doesn't work. LAX learned this the hard way. In 2010, after a major renovation that added extra lanes to the horseshoe and expanded external access points, administrators measured the results. The average travel time inside the central loop had actually increased. More asphalt had produced more congestion. The system had hit its hard ceiling. The technical explanation is precise. The problem is not linear flow capacity. It is lateral movement capacity. An 8-lane road still creates the same chaos if cars constantly need to weave across lanes to reach terminals spread along a long corridor. The horseshoe had reached its absolute limit. If the airport's geometry cannot be fixed, and it cannot, because rebuilding terminals would cost tens of billions of dollars and take decades LAX doesn't have, then the strategy must completely change. Instead of asking, how do we get more cars to circulate inside the horseshoe, the question becomes, how do we stop these cars from entering the horseshoe in the first place? It is a complete logical inversion. The goal is to eliminate the demand for cars before they ever hit the airport loop. 4 interventions were created to achieve this. This system banned Uber, Lyft, taxis, and most rideshare services from picking up passengers directly in front of the terminals. Instead, passengers walk or take a shuttle to a consolidated lot outside the loop. The impact was immediate. At some terminals, vehicle traffic dropped by 40% in the first 6 months. A $2.9 billion automated electric train connecting all terminals to 3 off-site stations, integrating with the metro and remote parking lots. Entering commercial operation in 2023, it allows travelers to access the airport without ever entering the congested loop. The subway line extension, set to reach LAX in 2028, just in time for the Olympics, is expected to remove tens of thousands of cars from the road system daily, giving LAX its first direct functional connection to the Los Angeles metro. Tested in access zones, this financially penalizes vehicles entering the horseshoe during peak hours, successfully redistributing demand to lighter travel windows. 4 solutions, 1 single common denominator, removing vehicles from the terminal area before they even enter the ring. LAX has ambitious growth plans, 120 million passengers by 2035, new gates, terminal expansions, and runway upgrades. Furthermore, the city is hosting the 2028 Olympic Games, an event that historically adds between 500,000 and 1 million visitors to host cities over a few concentrated weeks. This is where the paradox comes full circle. The larger the airport gets, the worse the ground transit problem becomes. More terminals mean more destinations spread across the horseshoe. More passengers mean more vehicles trying to reach those terminals. The success of LAX as an airport is the direct cause of its collapse as urban infrastructure. No single solution is enough on its own, and all of them depend on a variable that no engineer can control: human behavior. Some airports grew past their infrastructure and never managed to recover. Others reached the breaking point and used the crisis as a catalyst for real transformation. LAX is on a knife's edge between these 2 destinies. Before LAX can fly higher, it needs to run smoother, and the Olympic countdown waits for no one.